So, as stated in the key concept, one of the features of the Constitution that is outlined here, one of the examples of the Constitution being limited, is the concept of federalism. Federalism is something that's generally illustrated with a Venn diagram, as you can see here. And there's a number of words and terms and ideas here that we need to define. First of all, federalism is simply the division of power between the federal and state government. So, going back to our theme of the limited government, the concept of federalism takes the governmental power and basically slices it in half and gives half of it back to the states. So you can see that illustrated here with the Venn diagram. We're going to take a look at here in a moment powers that the federal government has, which will be on the left, and powers and duties that the states will have, which will be on the right. And then obviously in the middle, those are powers that both the federal and state share. This concept of federalism is something that is found in the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, right, the last amendment of the Bill of Rights. So again, federalism, the definition, you can type this here on your own, is the division of power between the federal government and state governments. Now, on the left, we start with the term delegated. So these are officially referred to as the delegated powers. These are those things that the Constitution specifically names and specifically delegates to the federal government. Some powers and some duties that fall under this category would include declaring war, printing money, running the post office, dealing with treaties, interstate commerce, which is those things that go between the states from one state to another, foreign trade, things like that. All right, so the simplification here is basically anything that crosses a border, the federal government has control over, whether it's one state to another or out of the country. Things that the whole country relies upon, the post office, printed money, etc. So those are federal government powers. Those are delegated specifically in the Constitution to the federal government. Anything not mentioned in the Constitution, this is basically the text of the 10th Amendment, anything not specifically delegated to the federal government is what we refer to as reserved to the states. Reserved, set aside. All right. So anything not mentioned in the Constitution, the states get power over. Things like education. Right. At the end of this year, all juniors have to take the New York State Regents exam. Things like vehicle and traffic laws. All right, all of you are working towards your New York State driver's license, New York State. Marriage and divorce laws are things that states control. Voting laws are things that states control. All right, you'll notice in this past week's election, different states have different types of ballots, different days that they can vote, early voting, mail-in ballots, etc. Is different from state to state. Intrastate commerce. Intrastate means things that are within the state themselves. So anything that occurs commerce-wise within the state of New York, New York has control over. Those are things that are referred to as the reserved powers of the states. And then finally, in that middle column are what we call concurrent. These are things that both the federal government and state government have control over, right? So maybe think of the prefix co, right? They both can do these things. The most popular example here would be taxes, right? Looking at your paycheck, there's all sorts of taxes taken out, federal income tax, state income tax. We all pay sales tax when we go to the store, local sales taxes. So taxing is a big one. Law enforcement, all different levels of law enforcement from the FBI and the DEA at the federal level to state police, county sheriffs, local police, etc. The court systems are something that both handle, right? So the various law enforcements, right, that have various levels of courts as well. All right, so that is a brief explanation there of federalism.